Momentum takes work to build up front, but once it's built, it's that driving force that you have behind your goals. Like for us, consistently, that's going to build that momentum. Don't celebrate longer than 24 hours. Don't be defeated for longer than 24 hours.
Negative momentum can hit you like that. Whereas positive momentum is this slow, this gradual. When it hits, it feels great. Problems plus perspective equals opportunity. Would you rather have $1 million today, or would you rather have a penny like doubled every day for 30 days?
Welcome to the Takeover with Tim and Cindy, where we show you how to dominate every area of life and business. Let's get winning.
Welcome back to the Takeover with Tim and Cindy. In today's episode, we are going to talk about the number one thing that you absolutely need if you are going to hit your goals. What is that one thing that's going to allow you to not only fast track toward your goals, it's going to make it a lot easier to get there, and it's that one thing that's going to propel you more than anything else to reach your goals using this method. What is that one thing?
Big Mo. You got to have big momentum. Momentum.
Yes. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about the power of momentum, which is that driving force that's going to allow you to accelerate toward your goals, to get there faster, easier than you ever thought possible. We're going to talk about practical how-tos. How do you start gaining momentum? How do you keep momentum going? And we're even going to talk about the opposite side, which is negative momentum, right? Because there is both positive and negative momentum.
Yep.
So I'm excited about today's episode. And Tim, when I think about the word momentum, one very specific story for me comes to mind, and that's our hiring journey. The journey that we went through right up front when we were building and growing our team, getting to our first 10 core teammates.
Yep.
It was a mission. It was a struggle.
Brutal.
It was brutal. Why don't we describe that a little bit to people? What happened getting to our first 10 teammates?
Yeah, but I would even say like maybe our first like 10 to 13, like getting that core group of people, because you and I had set culture really big in 2020. We had built the baseline. What do we want this company to be? And then when you're kind of first finding that first group of people, you actually kind of have to find a little bit of a kind of entrepreneurial minded, but like still wants to work for a company person. So it's kind of hard to get that first round of people because you're getting people in. There's not a lot of people there. You're trying to get the culture built, and it takes a lot of work. It's like Jim Collins talks about in his book, Good to Great, where you're getting the flywheel going. It takes a lot of energy to get that thing up and going. And that's what it was for us hiring. It's what we went through so many operations teammates, recruiting, training, getting on, this person's not a fit, and getting the momentum going. And then it's hard to attract talent when you don't have a lot of culture built. You don't have a lot of people built. So it was difficult for us to find like high quality talent because high quality people want to work with high quality people. And so people would get our vision, they'd get us, but they would start asking questions about the team, and we didn't have much examples to give.
Yeah.
We didn't have much momentum in our culture. So our culture was still more of an idea, something that you and I lived, but it wasn't like a living, breathing thing in the company. And it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work to get those first few kind of core people that really started building momentum.
Yes, absolutely. And I think about high performers, great talent, they can work anywhere. And getting that first 10 group of kind of crazies that would see our vision, that would adopt the culture and be excited about the culture that we were building. We would hire people, we would fire people. There would be just so much. It took so much time, effort, and energy to get to the point where we had our 10 core teammates in the company, 10 to 13, I'd say. So once we did have our core group of 13 people, what happened then?
When we started having really good culture, really good people, really good momentum, it was like talent was just attracted to us. We were having people reach out to us saying, "Hey, are you hiring? Let me know when you're hiring." We'd put an ad out, and it was like we would just get a lot of people applying for the role. interviewing for it. There would be high quality talent in there. When they would ask questions about our team, we would have great examples, a lot of confidence. So our ability to sell talent, remember, because even if you get really good talent on an interview, they start asking questions about the company. They're interviewing you just as much as you are interviewing them. And so now that we have such an example of our culture and our team and the people working there, now it was like in interviews, you could see the high quality talent was like really get excited to work there. Like, oh, what's it going to take for me to prove that I'm a good player for you? So it switched it almost immediately. And the same thing happened with the sales team, because we kind of built the operations out first.
Yeah.
And then the sales team, now it's like we're at a point where it's like there's so many sales reps that want to come work for us. But getting that first few group of sales reps in, the crazies, it took work,
Yes.
for sure. But now it's like it's so easy to attract talent. And I'm sure as we get to that next level of our business, the next level talent, executive leadership, stuff like that will be the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the key here is momentum takes work to build up front. It takes effort, it takes energy, it takes work. But once momentum's built, it's like that snowball effect, right? Like the snowball, it starts to build up, it starts to build, it starts to build. It might take some time to build up, but once it's running and it's rolling, it goes accelerated, right? It's that speed that you get. So momentum takes work to build up front, but once it's built, it's that driving force that you have behind your goals. Like for us, now that the team is built and the culture solidified and we have all of that momentum behind us, attracting talent is so easy now, but it took work up front. So Tim, like practically, what is momentum? Like how do we even classify momentum for our goals?
You could think of momentum in any area of the business. So for talent, it took a lot of work to get the first, the foundation of really high level players in the company that now we have something that attracts other talent. Same with sales reps. It's like we had to dial in our sales processes, marketing pieces. Now we have a lot of sales reps that want to work for us. The same could be for your marketing in the marketplace. At first you're running ads and stuff and no one knows your face. So they're like, who is this joker? And you have to pay a lot of money, like anything, it takes a lot of work up front, but the more work you put up front, once you break through and like say you've been running your ads for a year and you're doing them aggressively, it's like people are seeing you're not going to go away. So now your ads are going to perform better. You have more trust in the marketplace. Same with, building content over, a long period of time. Maybe
Building
the first time you see you building your, anything in life, you build momentum. The more you're willing to put the hard work in up front, the easier it's going to be on the backside. Same with culture. The culture of our company, it took a lot of energy to build the culture, but now the culture makes it easy. So momentum is that thing where it takes a lot of work to build up. I say it's an example would be like speeding up to get on the highway. So you're in your car. It takes a lot of work for your engine to, get cycled up, get to speed. But once you're cruising on the highway, it's pretty easy to maintain that speed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's how momentum works. And it works in every single area of life.
Yeah, I love that. So what are some practical ways that you can not only build, but sustain momentum?
I think so. If you're thinking of in like your health, right? You could think of, instead of trying to be super crazy, like, if we go back to the car example, instead of saying, I'm going to go 100 miles an hour and I want to get there in 2 seconds, just be like, okay, like to get to 100 miles an hour, I need to first get to 10 and then 15 and then 20. And so, right, setting milestones for yourself of like making it like at first kind of making it easy so that you want to do the work, right? Even though it's going to be hard, like, okay, I'm going to like giving yourself goals along the way of what it looks like to build momentum. What are the activities? What are the actions? So if it's like fitness, it could be, I'm going to commit to doing, 4 15-minute workouts a day. And guess what? If you go to a 15-minute workout, you're probably going to end up doing it longer, right? If it could be for your marketing, like, hey, I'm going to just keep doing this one marketing activity consistently every day for a long time. Because marketing is not an overnight thing. We're good enough at marketing that we could launch something and overnight it has success. But if you're newer to it, it's going to take longer. If it's going to be with talent, it can be, building the momentum, like just sticking with your core values until you find the right person.
Yes.
And then once you have that person, don't compromise in your values. until you get the next person. You keep. So I think it's that's what it can look like practically to start building it. You have to mentally be okay with this is going to take a while. Like, be okay with, not that it has to take a while. Like, not that it's like, it's got to be hard. It's got to be challenging. It's got to take forever. Like, you don't want to say that it has to be, but a lot of times it's going to be. So like, you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
If it takes me a lot longer than I ever thought, it doesn't matter. I'm going to keep building it until I have momentum. That's what it takes to build momentum. It could be, if you're a sales rep, it could be like, I'm going to do the role plays, the call reviews. I'm going to do the studies, the drills, like whatever that takes to build up, because it takes a lot of work to become a good sales rep. Now, once you get momentum, to sustain it is like the craziest thing, because I've made this mistake a lot. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit today, is to sustain the momentum, you actually just have to keep doing the same activities that got you there.
Yes.
And that can be a pretty common mistake. I mean, I've made it in business, in sales, as a leader, where you spend all this time and effort to get the momentum. And we've seen clients do it, where we do all this work, we get them to a certain point, and they kind of go backwards. And it's not that they did something wrong or not right. What they did is they just stopped doing the same thing that got them there. In your fitness, you stopped doing the exercise, you stopped eating right. In your sales, you stopped doing your role plays, you stopped doing your call reviews. In your leadership, you stopped reading books, you stopped doing the one-on-one mentorships, whatever that was. It literally, to sustain it, it just takes like the same activities that got you there is what will keep you there.
That's so good. Yeah, I think two things I want to highlight of what you said. Starting, or in order to gain momentum, it's those small activities that you're doing with constant repetition, right? It's those activities that you're willing to do day in and day out that actually puts you on the path to gaining momentum, right? So you have to be willing to do it day in and day out. It's not one thing that you do on a random day. It's what you're able to do consistently that's going to build that momentum. And I even think it's like those being willing to do the small things, right? The small activities, the small actions, in order to start that momentum, right? With like, we talk about hiring, it's being willing to like write out, okay, what is the type of talent I'm looking for? Being willing to invest in building culture, creating, crafting the right values or vision for your company, and doing those small activities consistently is what allows you to gain momentum. I think far too often people are looking to do that one breakthrough idea, that one big action that they're going to take on one day that's going to like catapult them. But that's really the opposite of momentum. Momentum, it takes time, effort, energy to build up front through small activities taken consistently over time, right? And I think as you start to put those into place, you then go into that place where you have momentum. And as you mentioned, sustaining it is simply repeating the activities that got you there. So you don't want to let off the gas, right? When you have momentum, that driving force behind your goals, you can't let off the gas. You gave the example of, the car on the freeway, right? It's not like you're taking your foot off the gas. It's like your foot's still on the gas, and that's what's allowing you to go at that speed. So in order to sustain momentum, you have to keep putting in those activities. I know for us, one of the ways that we continue to build momentum and sustain momentum is like really simply celebrating the small wins, and then pulling out lessons learned when we do have a failure. So we have this rule, like, don't celebrate longer than 24 hours. Don't be defeated for longer than 24 hours. If you give yourself that 24-hour rule, that allows you to sustain momentum, right? Because if I'm celebrating for just 24 hours, it gives me that motivation to go back and keep pushing towards my goals. Like, I'm not using this one win as like, now I'm done, I'm stopping the activities, right?
The guy that's still talking about his glory days in high school.
Yeah, no, it's like,
oh, well, what are you doing right now?
Exactly.
So
the 24-hour rule is like, don't celebrate for longer than 24 hours. When you have a win, awesome, celebrate it, embrace it, but then that keeps you going right back into the activities that got you that win. And then the same thing, right? Like, don't be defeated for longer than 24 hours, because momentum works both ways. There's that positive momentum, and then on the opposite side, there's negative momentum. So if you're defeated for longer than 24 hours, you're actually going into a cycle of negative momentum. So how about we talk about negative momentum? What is that, and how do we avoid it?
Negative momentum is because the word that I kept thinking of as you were talking is consistency. It takes consistent actions to build momentum. It takes consistent actions to keep momentum. And when you stop doing those actions, you lose momentum. It's like getting you spend all this gas or energy to get your car into the highway. It's at highway speed. It doesn't take much to maintain that, speed. But imagine if you're on the highway and you were to let off the gas. You're not going to go to zero immediately, but you're going to start slowing down, right? And guess what? If you're on the highway and you're at zero, it's going to take the same energy that it took, these same activities that it took to get up to highway speed. You're going to have to redo that all over again.
Yeah.
And so just the word is consistency. It takes consistency to get to your momentum, and it takes consistency to keep it. Now, it doesn't take the same amount of energy to maintain it, but it does take the same type of activities to maintain it. And if you let off, and I'll give you an example of a couple scenarios. For me, it was when I first I've talked about it before, had my auto webinar running, and it was making me like 6K a week, and I thought I was like this, baller or whatever, and it started growing, and then I stopped doing the activities because it was running on autopilot, and it ran for a while, like my car is going to run for a while. I have to let off the gas on the highway, but then it eventually stopped working, and then I had to literally rebuild a new company from the ground up, because by the time it stopped working, it was too late. The same thing, I see this a lot with sales reps, where they work their tails off, they work really hard, they get their close rates up, they start having some wins, and then they stop doing the role plays. They stop doing the call reviews, and they think, oh, I've arrived. I've made it, and they stop doing the activities, which is that's also an upper limit problem. Well, we have another episode that talks about that.
Yeah.
But if they stop doing the activities, and then they're able to, because the work they did, they stay sharp for a little while, and then keep closing, and they think it's them who's closing, and they don't realize that is the activities. If a basketball player stopped practicing basketball for a while, he'd still play good. And then after a while he would stop playing, and then it would take a ton of energy. And what people don't realize is negative momentum sets you back really hard. Like negative momentum can hit you like that, whereas positive momentum is this slow, this gradual. When it hits, it feels great. Negative momentum, like you let off the gas for a little bit, and then when it hits hard, it hits sudden, and then you're digging yourself out of a grave.
Wow. Yeah, that's so good. It's like the opposite of positive and negative momentum. It's night and day, right? With positive momentum, it takes time to build, but once you have that driving force behind you to reach your goals, it's so powerful. And on the opposite side, negative momentum can be detrimental to you hitting your goals, like completely. And so what are some, if we have to think about ways that we implement this in our lives, like what are ways that we sustain positive momentum? We spoke about like celebrating wins, and that's something we do every day. We always try to find the wins in our day to day. And we've trained our team to spot wins as well. And we do it very intentionally, right? Every day we have a team meeting. We call it morning momentum. Everybody gets on Zoom. There's a lot of energy behind it, and everyone's sharing wins. What's the wins that you had the day before? What are client wins we have? Team wins. And we've trained our team to spot the wins because of momentum. If you start the day off with that positive energy, the positive wins, that's momentum going into the day. We literally call our morning meeting morning momentum because of what it's building for the team, right? And we've trained them to really spot those. And once you have those, you have the idea where you are spotting wins in your day to day. It allows you to keep that energy and that sustaining towards your goals, because it can be challenging. It is challenging on the journey to your goals. And when you have positive momentum, it makes it so worth it, and it makes it a lot easier as well. So what are other ways that we can sustain momentum in our day to day really practically?
Yeah, I love something you said there was the celebrating of the wins. So as humans, we like to win. We enjoy, even if people have kind of given up and they've, winning's not everything. Like, human beings are designed for reward, stimulus, reward. This is how bad addictions happen, by the way. Is there's a stimulus, there's a reward, there's a what is it? Stimulus, craving, reward, right? And so we need to reward ourselves for good things, for positive things, for the activities that we took that are getting us there. And so having daily wins, like if we were to start off our meetings with, all right, here's what's going wrong and here's what we need to fix, we're going to create a culture of negative momentum.
Yes.
Starting off with like, here's what we did well. Here's what I want to shout out so-and-so for, having a standard of excellence. I want to shout out so-and-so for, pursuit of growth is relentless. Or, hey, I want to shout out so-and-so for resolve to win. I saw them working really hard and they finally got that deal closed. Those are reinforcing the activities. And when we're reinforcing the culture at our company is we're reinforcing actions and activities. Like, hey, we're reinforcing this thing that you did that produced this result. We're not necessarily celebrating the result, like, or calling out the result. We do celebrate the result, but we're celebrating the activity that got us that result because we want to create positive reinforcements behind those activities. The word we used before was consistency.
Yeah.
It was consistent activities and actions that got you to that momentum and keep you to sustain that. So when we do reward ourselves, when we do talk about the wins, we are rewarding and reminding ourselves and celebrating the activities that produce that outcome so that we're reinforcing us as human beings. We like to win. We love the dopamine hit. We love the serotonin hit in a group setting. And we're reinforcing the activities by giving ourselves those wins. Because if you don't give yourself that win, you're not creating a reinforcement in your head, in your brain. So when times get tough, your brain's not going to chase that win. Your brain's going to go for easy comfort, grab the beer, watch the TV. Whereas when you create a reward for doing certain activities over time, your brain, when difficulty comes, will start chasing that reward versus the easy and comfortable.
Yes, absolutely. That's so good. I think another way that we can sustain a positive momentum on the journey to our goals, there is going to be a lot of challenges. You're going to face a lot of struggles and a lot of things that are going to come up. And I think it's pulling out the lessons learned when you face those challenges, because those are going to inform your next steps, right? If we never reflect back on a challenge and pull out the lessons learned, like, what did I actually learn from that? It's not a failure. You can actually pull out lessons. The perspective you take on every situation matters. And if you can make it a habit to pull out the lessons learned every time you face a challenge, it also allows you to build positive momentum. Because I think about for us, when we were first hiring our core group of teammates, if we didn't pull out lessons learned every time we had a mishire or every time an interview went really bad, we'd just have that negative momentum and we'd never be able to build the kind of company that we have today. So I think not a lot of people emphasize how important it is to pull out lessons learned every time you face a challenge or failure, because that's not only going to inform your next step, it's also going to allow you to build more positive momentum. Because when you face that same action or activity or struggle, you've already had the lessons learned that you pulled from that previous thing.
I know how to overcome this.
I know how to overcome it.
I've got a plan of action.
Exactly. And that's going to reinforce versus like you making the same mistake over and over and over again. It's actually going to lead you into negative momentum.
Have you noticed on that too, that one of the things that we say at our company all the time is problems are opportunities. Now, I always like to be really clear. I'm against the it has to be tough. It has to be hard. Failures have to happen. Like I say, it doesn't have to be. The reasons why they happen is because we either don't have enough information, we don't have enough experience, or we don't have the right, whatever. However, it's probably going to happen. You're probably going to run into failures. It's probably going to be more difficult than you ever thought. So I always like to clarify that. I don't want to lead with that it has to be hard. The only reason why it's not, because the only reason why it is hard is because there's something that we're lacking in knowledge, experience, expertise, or whatever. That said, when you are constantly pushing your limits towards what is possible, you're going to fall. I grew up snowboarding, and it was always, if you go home and you didn't fall, you don't have some bruises, it means you didn't you didn't find where the limit was of where you can go. So you never went to and beyond your limit because you didn't fall, right? So if you're going to speed, if it's speed, innovation, whatever, you're going to find where that limit is and you're going to fall. You're going to go home with some bruises. However, the culture at our company, they've seen us hit that limit so many times, hit that limit so many times, and always turn it into an opportunity. We say problems are opportunities. have you noticed how internally we personally get, and even the company gets excited when a problem comes, and we all go, okay, what's the opportunity here?
Yes, it's perspective.
Yeah. So problems plus perspective equals opportunity. It can create a really, really good outcome. And we've always come out stronger, faster, and the culture as a team is so cohesive because they've seen us make it through so many challenges together.
I love that. Problems plus perspective equals opportunity. That's good.
Yeah.
That's gold.
Yeah.
What are some other ways? Is there anything else we can think of?
Just practically speaking, constantly learning. Like, for you and I, we do a lot of reading. We've invested in a lot of mentors. We've gone through a lot of courses. We're constantly learning and feeding. And to sustain momentum, to get you to that next place, you're going to need new skills.
Yeah.
To attract that next level of talent, you're going to need to be that next level leader. To build that next level company, you're going to have to be that next level, I'm going to say it again, leader, right? Like it takes the next level of size. And if you have people you're mentoring, if you have people that are following you, you can only sow into them for so long and until they go, okay, you're saying the same thing over and over again, which is okay if you're repeating the right things, but you need to constantly be feeding. You need to constantly be books, mentors, getting around in the right rooms, going to meeting other people that are doing great things, so that you have more. You're constantly developing your own self, so that you have more to give to your team or to your coworkers or to your spouse or whoever. So I would say really, really important for momentum is building we have a part of our culture is our pursuit of growth is relentless. It's one of our values. And I think having that relentless pursuit of growth, like how do I expand in every area of life, health, wealth, fitness, my mental game, there's a momentum that's built there that I believe impacts the momentum in every area of life.
That's so
and
good.
So you should all, constantly be reading and feeding, go through all the episodes here. Like make it a goal, because we're not just entertaining people here. We're giving the information that clients pay us a lot of money to give them and to mentor them on. So, go through these episodes, like make it a goal. Like, hey, every time a new podcast comes out, I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go listen to the ones that impacted me more. Make sure that you have on routine, I'm going to be reading a book a month or 2 books a month on audio. I do audio. Like people talk smack about I do audio. I love it. I go for a run. I do audio. Make sure you're paying to be with mentors. Mentors are the biggest thing. We'll talk about this in another episode, but mentors were the biggest, made one of the largest impacts on our growth.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. So that's what I would say is just make sure your pursuit of growth is relentless.
Yeah. I think about the times in our lives where we had the fastest growth, the most acceleration, the most momentum is when we were learning and doing. So we were investing in mentorship, taking courses, reading and implementing what we were learning. I mean, that's probably one of the fastest ways to gain and sustain momentum is learning and doing, feeding your mind, you're taking action on what you're learning and implementing it, because it's truly is a way to accelerate and fast track your results.
Yeah, I love that. you see, she's able to just say in a few words what it takes me. Like, I have to explain a lot of things. She's like, yeah, fastest growth is learning and doing. I'm like, dang, that's good. Yes, I should have just said that.
We feed off each other. It's all good. You and I speak about this a lot though, Tim. It's the concept of the compound effect, right? That both getting to your goals can be exponential when you have that positive momentum, but then it can also be detrimental on the opposite side with that negative. So why don't we speak a little bit more on the compound effect?
So compounding is, and I'm not a Wall Street finance guy, so everybody's gonna like make fun of me, but whatever. Like think about like the compounding effect. It works in finances. This is the concept of, would you rather have $1 million today, or would you rather have a penny like doubled every day for 30 days? And people that haven't heard it before, they're like, well, I'd rather have $1 million today. Whereas I think like the compound effect, if you take a penny today, it's 2 pennies tomorrow, 4 pennies, 8 pennies, 16 pennies, 32, 64, $1.28. Again, it compounds all the way to, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's like $10 million in like 30 days. Because as it doubles, the compound effect is, it's not linear growth. And so when humans want things to be linear. As I do a little bit more today, a little bit more comes to me. Compounding is it can take a lot of work to get things going. Like you don't see much results for a while, but then over time, when the results do start to come, they start to come fast and faster and faster and faster and faster.
Yeah.
And so this is how high growth companies are able to have high growth, is because they keep doubling down. When the win comes, they take the profits of the company and they're doubling it down. They're compounding. They're taking the momentum behind them. Maybe they got the press and they've got their ads running and they got this thing running, and they're doubling down in every area, and it allows you to skyrocket.
Exponential. Yeah.
Correct. However, on the other side, there is a negative compounding effect that happens. So like, let's just maybe talk about, health and fitness. If we look at two journeys of health and fitness, one positive, one negative, it's like choosing not to do that cookie. Let's just talk about two people. They're the same health level, same age, so just the same person. And if we look over the period of 1 year, one person just, they're choosing, they make those little decisions not to eat that cookie. They make that little decision to go do the 15-minute workout. At first, you're not going to see much difference. And like, you're not going to see much improvement in that person, because it's only a cookie here. It's only a snack here. It's only like skipping one workout here. Whereas the other person, they are skipping the cookie. They are doing the workout. At the first 30 days, the person that's eating the cookie, skipping the workout, versus the person that's skipping the cookie and doing the workout. I'm getting these a little mixed up. You're not going to see much difference, but over a period of time, you're going to start seeing that little extra cookie, that little extra, treating and cheating and not doing your workout over the period of a year. I think there was a study that I read on this where it was like one person will be like 15 pounds lighter than they were, and the other person will be 20 pounds heavier, which is a 35-pound difference in weight. So at first, you're not going to notice these little compromises of negative momentum. At first, you're not going to notice the positive impacts of the positive momentum you're building, the small actions and activities. But over the period of a year, it's going to be massive, and it's going to make a big difference. So as you start going through this again, a consistent word throughout this whole thing is consistency.
Yes.
What are the actions, the activities that it takes to produce the positive outcome that you want? And realize, like, just commit to being like, okay, I'm going to make that a lifestyle. Like you and I have made not drinking alcohol, not eating treats, not doing a lifestyle. And we actually schedule the events that we're going to, like, we went to Necker. We went to Necker, and we're like, okay, on Necker, we're going to be okay with drinking and letting off. But as soon as we got back from Necker, we stopped drinking, because we schedule out those times where we give ourselves those versus making it like on and off.
Yeah, absolutely. What's really powerful about what you said, it's in the small decisions, right? I think that people don't think about the small actions, the small decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis that truly compound, talk about the compound effect, into longer term decisions. So it's seeing every day, every decision, every choice as an opportunity to either build momentum or to take away from any positive momentum that you have. And I think if we can take that perspective on our goals, I mean, that's radical differences that can happen almost overnight. It's powerful.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's recap. This whole episode was about momentum. How do you build positive momentum toward your goals? How do you avoid negative momentum? So some keys, and we always say this on every episode, what's that one thing that you can walk away with today, that you can action, that you can implement, so that you can win in all areas of life and business? When I think about some of the keys that we shared here today, don't go longer than 24 hours celebrating a win, and don't be defeated for longer than 24 hours as well. Put in that consistent work, those consistent steps and actions, so that you can build momentum, because it takes a lot of work to build up front, but then also sustain momentum. Once momentum is built, it is a lot easier to sustain.
The things that you did to get you there, keep doing them.
Keep doing the activities, keep doing the actions.
Them. Because when you keep doing those activities, once you got there, growth just happens so fast.
Exponential. And then again, if you let off the gas and you're not taking those activities and you're not consistent, momentum can only take you so far. You can actually start going into negative momentum, which almost overnight can completely destroy your progress that you've built up toward your goal. So be mindful of the fact that it can go both ways as well.
All right. So if you got zero value from this episode, just don't rate it, don't like, don't subscribe, don't share this with anybody. In fact, if you didn't get any value from this, I don't know what you're still doing here. You probably accidentally left it on and you're like, dang it, you're right, I need to turn this off. But if you did get value from this, if you did learn something that's going to help you be better, make sure to share this with somebody else. That, like, think about in your head another person that could really benefit from the information that we went over today, and share that with them. And then if there's one thing you can do to help people out in life, it's not necessarily give them things, it's equip them with things to live a better life. So if there was something that you got out of this, you thought, man, that was really helpful, think about somebody else in your life that could use positive momentum. Maybe somebody else that you know that is in cycles of getting momentum, losing momentum, getting momentum, losing. Share that with them and help them out. So that's the only thing that we ask, because our goal here is to make a massive impact on people's lives. And we know that happens through changing one habit, one routine, one thing. So if you get one or two things out of this episode, we know that's going to change your life. So that's our goal of this episode. So if you did get value, make sure to share and do all that good stuff.
Yes. Again, this is the Takeover with Tim and Cindy. Remember, domination is not a destination. It's a way of life. Stay winning.